Ambassador Zekthon received reports of entire Vorthak battle groups disappearing without trace, planets that had been under siege for months. The Nexus Arena had seen countless battles across its millennium of existence, but never had the crystalline walls witnessed such a mismatch. In the center of the massive Colosseum, a 12-year-old human boy stood facing Korathak the Destroyer, a 7-foot-tall Vorthanian warrior whose exoskeleton bore the scars of 1,000 victories. The crowd of various alien species roared their approval from the stands. To them, this was entertainment, a brief, brutal spectacle before the main events. The betting pools had closed within seconds. No one gave the human child more than a 3% chance of survival, and those were considered generous odds. Ambassador Thelnara of the Galactic Council watched from her private box, her 4 eyes narrowing with disgust. The humans had been trying to gain membership in the Council for decades, but incidents like this only proved their species' primitive nature. What kind of civilization would allow their young to be thrown into gladiatorial combat? Down in the arena, young Marcus Chen adjusted his grip on the standard-issue plasma blade, its blue energy humming softly. His dark eyes remained fixed on Korathak, who was performing an intimidation display, flexing his razor-sharp claws and releasing pheromones that would have sent most prey species fleeing in terror. The arena announcer's voice boomed across the stadium in universal standard. "Ladies, gentlemen, and esteemed beings of all classifications, witness the folly of human ambition. The child warrior Marcus Chen faces our reigning champion in what promises to be the shortest bout in arena history." Korathak's mandibles clicked with amusement. In his native tongue, he growled at the boy. "I will make your death quick, soft flesh. Your species should have stayed in their little corner of the galaxy." Marcus tilted his head slightly, processing the translation through his neural implant. When he spoke, his voice carried across the arena with startling clarity. "My grandmother always said, 'Never let them see you coming.'" The starting horn sounded. Korathak launched himself forward with predatory speed, his massive form covering the distance between them in a heartbeat. His claws extended, aimed directly at the boy's throat, a killing blow that would end the fight before it truly began. But Marcus was no longer there. The human child had moved with a fluid grace that defied physics, slipping under Korathak's strike like water flowing around stone. In the same motion, he pivoted on his heel and drove his plasma blade upward, the energy weapon sliding between the joints of the Vorthanian's exoskeleton with surgical precision. The blade found its mark in the exact spot where Korathak's primary neural cluster connected to his motor cortex, a vulnerability that should have been impossible for a human to know, let alone exploit with such devastating accuracy. Korathak's victory roar died in his throat as his nervous system shut down. The massive warrior collapsed to the arena floor, paralyzed but alive, his eyes wide with shock and disbelief. 3 seconds. That's all it had taken. The arena fell silent. 80,000 spectators sat in stunned silence as the human boy calmly deactivated his weapon and walked to the center of the arena. He didn't celebrate or boast. He simply stood there, waiting. Ambassador Thelnara leaned forward, her diplomatic composure cracking. "Impossible," she whispered. "How did he know about the neural cluster?" Her aide, a nervous Zephyrian, consulted his datapad with trembling tendrils. "Ambassador, our intelligence reports indicate that human children undergo something called xenobiology education from age 5. They study the anatomy of every known species in the galaxy. And the speed, the precision? Humans possess something called muscle memory. They train their young in combat scenarios thousands of times until the movements become automatic. They call it practice." In the arena below, Marcus finally spoke into the silence. "I'd like to request membership in the Galactic Council's Youth Combat League, please. I think I might have some potential." The crowd erupted. Some cheered, others demanded answers, and a few species representatives were already making urgent calls to their homeworlds to revise their assessments of human capabilities. As Marcus walked toward the exit, he paused and looked up at the ambassador's box. Even from that distance, Felnara could see his smile. Not cruel or triumphant, but simply confident. It was the smile of a species that had looked at the galaxy's most dangerous predators and decided to study them instead of fear them. The smile of a civilization that turned their children into scholars and warriors in equal measure. The smile of humanity, and they were just getting started.